Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Wisdom and Wonder Show. I am your host, Laura McMullin. And in our show, this is a program for supporting healing and well-being. And we attempt to and inspire to expand the heart, uplift the mind, and nourish the soul. And on our program today, we have Amalia Astin, who is a recent graduate from Bard College with honors and a degree in philosophy. She currently works in the front office of Manzanita School and Institute, which is a small independent school with an emphasis on nature connection and mentorship located in Topanga Canyon. Amalia has been training in family systems constellation therapy for the past few years and is working to complete a 10-month plant apprenticeship at the Gaia School of Healing. We get to hear all about this. In her free time, she reads tarot and studies astrology. Her long-term goal is to do work in the healing arts and find ways to bridge holistic approaches with more conventional fields of work. Welcome to the show, Amalia.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So happy to be with you today and just to dive into some of this wonderful work that you've been in. So I wanted to first get a sense from you in your journey so far. What has been attracting you to the metaphysical spaces, the healing arts? What's kind of interesting to you about all of this work? How have you come to it?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting. I came to it very organically. I actually, as a teenager, was really against I was like, I'm agnostic or atheist and all of this stuff. Like, I just was very against kind of the unseen world because I felt like the people that I knew that were really into it, I feel like they almost used the magic for selfish purposes. And I just felt like it was a lot about, manifesting things you want, which it's not that doesn't work. It's just that I felt like there was a lack of personal responsibility, that people were just sort of trying to, I'm not sure, just kind of leverage manifesting or things like that. Anyway, the New Age community to me as a teenager was really off-putting. And then, of course, I found my way organically, and now I'm all about, all the stuff I used to reject. But I kind of found it very organically. It wasn't even through my parents. It was through a woman who's now I call her my healing mentor. She did a constellation for me at a time when I really was needing help. And the wisdom that I got from that really propelled me to make a lot of personal changes and kind of come to just start working on myself in a really tangible way, and then seeing the results of that and really coming more home to myself, realizing all of these things really worked for me. And then just sharing them with my friends and with family members. Everything is kind of come together in a really organic way. I feel like I've pursued nothing, and like a really just sort of things have come really beautifully when I've started to really do the work. So yeah, here I am, just beginning, I feel. So I've only been a few years into this world, but feels really significant. So yeah.
I love the phrase that you said, coming home to yourself. That's really beautiful and profound, and like really kind of sitting with um, how powerful that is, like, and what that means, for anybody, right, to come home to oneself. So maybe we can talk a little bit about the family constellation therapy, and just to get the general sense of because when I hear that, and I know very little of it, it has something to do with like connections. So I'm just curious if you can expand on your.
Yeah. Well, they're slightly different. Family constellation is the original method where you would work in a session to set up someone's family. You would have someone represent your mother and your father in the energy field, and the facilitator you would then watch them interact in a way. The two people don't know your family who are representing for you, so you can kind of see the patterns that are hidden and work to give both parties, your mother, your father, your brother, everything that they need in kind of in the field, and then sort of see the results of that in your life through that healing work. But it's the important thing about Constellation is you're always doing it for yourself. So you might be setting up your mother, but it's about your relationship with your mother. So you're not here to heal your mom, you're here to heal yourself. And then, you can then give her what she needs sometimes through this work, but it's all about how you can, grow as your own individual. And then systemic constellation is a branch of that where you bring in more than just your family to heal. You bring in past life stuff or issues with money or relationships, or you can really be very creative there and kind of just see what shows up. Oftentimes you'll want to work on an issue with your brother. And so you'll set someone up, you're going to be my brother. And then it morphs and he looks like, your great grandpa, and you realize, oh, the issue started with my great grandpa and we've just been carrying this for him for so long. So it's a really beautiful way to kind of reveal the unseen patterns. And it works in the same way, other therapies work, just trying to figure out what the core issue is to work it through and really recognize it. And sometimes you'll see a part of yourself show up in a constellation that is really unhealthy and you won't be ready to let it go yet. And that's okay too. So it's a lot about getting the knowledge, never forcing yourself to let go when you're not ready, but really about the knowledge as well.
Wow. Okay. So if somebody wanted to do this, then who are the people?
There's facilitators that know how to hold the space and set it up. There's workshops. I've gone to multiple facilitators, and I only really like a couple, and my mentor, the way that she does it is just so, she has a really amazing way of holding it in a really grounded and safe way, not trying to push or, I've seen some facilitators try to kind of manufacture how they want it to look instead of just allowing it to be whatever it is. So she does a really great job with that. Also not being afraid of anything, dark or heavy that might show up, just allowing it to be worked through, not having, any fear of that either. So there's groups, there's constellation nights. So you can just kind of find a facilitator that you like, and then you go, and there's, you can do one-on-one, but it's usually done in a group. So you have different people representing, and you can do it blind. That's the magical thing. You cannot tell people what you're setting up or setting them up as, and it works exactly the same.
So how does okay, this is really fascinating.
I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it works at least from my experience.
I'm like, oh wow, so cool. Okay, so then let's say, somebody connects with a facilitator, finds a facilitator,
Yeah.
that person then hold some sort of like
group. Yeah. And you could do the woman I know, she does like Tuesday night constellations at her house. And so every Tuesday night, usually constellation is about 1.5 to 2 hours it takes for one person. Like it's a pretty long process. And then you would have, you can just come, I used to go every week, and you don't even need to have it done for yourself. You get a lot out of representing for other people as well, because often what people pick to represent you as is something you kind of carry within yourself a little bit, and you end up doing the work for another person. You end up kind of can reveal things about yourself that you realize too. So that's another cool part of it.
Okay, so Tuesday nights, someone wants to go to this constellation night, and then here's the group, and then does like one person get like chosen to be the one for that night?
Yeah, so one person would ahead of time book, like I would like a constellation, February, whatever. So they sit in the hot seat, we call it. It's just like a nice comfortable chair. The whole room's really comfortable. It's all about having everyone, feel really safe. And so they'd sit there, and then the facilitator would sit next to them, almost like a traditional therapy. And then the room, there's a small sized, comfortable room with there's candles, there's books, there's things on the wall. Like you can use anything in the room during the constellation. There's colorful mats like that you can bring out to represent different things that you might need to resource yourself. So you're representing a part that really just needs compassion. So you pick a mat and you pull that and you stand in the compassion, and you just really, it's very somatic. A lot of the times there's really not a lot of talking. You're just trying to work things through and just stick with them until you feel that you've made a shift. So if you were to go to a constellation night, you would come, maybe there'd be like 5, 6 people there. You're getting one done. So you sit in a chair, you talk for a minute, discuss what you want to set up. Sometimes you'll come with one idea, but you'll realize something has a bigger charge that you didn't even realize. So you can set that up. You can be very creative. You can set up, something simple like my addiction, or my issue with money, or my sister, or my anger, or you can also set up something that you want to work on. Like, I want to work on self-love. So I need to figure out what's blocking it. So can you represent what's blocking my self-love? And then that person, at one time we had someone trying to represent their inner critic, and they set it up and it just turned into their mom. It just looked exactly like, and I know her mom. So I was like, and it just was so obviously, it's so interesting. People, they're obviously themselves, but they just, in the field, they'll look like who or what they're representing in a really very magical way. You're like, whoa, you're doing the same facial expressions and you're standing in this way. So as a person representing, it's really important to not overthink it. You have to really just feel into your body exactly how you're feeling. So you'll, like, one time someone set me up as themselves, and I instantly was like, I'm definitely not this man. I'm definitely his sister. And I turned to him and he goes, oh my goodness, you're my sister. So it's very like, you'll both kind of know at the same time.
Wow, I am so fascinated by this. Okay, so when other people are representing different parts of the self or other people in their lives, they're just, in essence, so okay, so there's like field, right? So I'm assuming, so there's divine intelligence, there's something beyond our own conceptions or ideas that is, it seems to me, that is kind of orchestrating what comes forth, right? So it seems like the people there have to really, like you were saying, surrender. It doesn't sound like it's acting.
No, it doesn't feel like that at all. And sometimes you'll start sobbing and it has nothing to do with you. It's a part for someone else. And you'll just, it's really, when you're representing, it's totally about being in service. Like, you have to leave everything about yourself behind, and you really have to, be in service to this person who you're giving, a constellation to. And sometimes you'll have to, you'll be working a painful part through for them, and you'll just be thinking like, this is so, I get to help this person. Maybe it would be too much for their system to go back and represent this maybe traumatized part. So myself as a neutral observer can really step in for them and work that through. So it's really a generosity that everyone has to bring. And sometimes people, they'll come and you can tell that they're not totally left themselves behind, and you can tell they're bringing some of their stuff with them and they're in the drama of it rather than being of service. So that's okay too. It's you get better at it. Like, it is kind of something that anyone can do it, but you just have to be open and surrender. I mean, I've had a friend, she had the worst, like, horrible cough, like bronchitis, and I took her to a constellation. She was doing work for someone else, and she was representing a really lovely part in this woman's constellation, and for a whole 40 minutes she didn't cough at all. And then the constellation went over and she went back to her normal cough. Like, you really do leave part, like, you really are for this person. It's very very cool. And it's supposed to, like you were saying, that the higher power, you imagine it as though you're working with everyone's kind of soul almost. And then the real, it gets shifted up here basically. So you're changing the dynamics, and then it reflects in your life, the shift.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Chills. So in essence, right. So it's like, so as this unfolding is happening at the human level, really what's direct is higher self, soul.
Exactly.
On that level. So it's getting worked out there, played out through vessels. And then healed at both levels.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. And you can heal a lot of physical ailments. I haven't done as many constellations for that, but you can set up, if you have a tumor, and you can just set someone up and see what the tumor wants to say, because, there's a really a magic in just listening to, the parts of yourself that need healing to give voice to. And you can set up animals. You can actually, people do constellations with horses, and you use the horses to represent for you. And you just watch the horses. And apparently, I've never seen an animal constellation, but apparently animals are even way better at it than humans, because they can totally just be in their body without, and you watch the way the horses interact. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with it. And it's really, what I love about it is that it also really works. Like what's kind of cool is because it can be healed in such, when you're really doing your work and you set up something and you're ready to work it through, it can then just kind of leave your life in this really bizarre way where you forgot it was an issue. Like I'll be like, oh, I set that up. I don't even think about that anymore as something I do, but I guess I did used to really have that issue. It kind of sometimes really has those kind of powerful
amazing
results. Yeah. Yeah. In my life too. And it's not for everyone, each modality, you've got to find what's right for you. So it works for me really well.
I am totally fascinated by it. And so as far as like the training, so are you learning how to facilitate? Is that what?
Yeah, I'm not positive I want to be a facilitator necessarily, but I've been working with a facilitator in my community who's wonderful and has never even charged my family or me for any of her work. Like she's always just offered it. And she and I work every week together for about 6 hours. And that's been going on probably for about 6 months, that consistency. And then the past few years, whenever we had time, whenever I was home for break. So sometimes I will give sessions and she'll help guide me through them. I've only done them for my friends, so I haven't. And then also, I'll be asked to be a rep, like there's, the two of us will work together. I'll help her be a rep. Like someone will ask her to do a constellation and she'll want another person there who she really can trust to represent something for her client. So I will then step in those situations too. So, it's not a specific program, but I feel like I'm really getting a lot out of it for myself. So even if that's it, it's a great thing.
Yeah. What a fascinating, just space of healing and possibility.
Yeah.
And also this mentor that you have.
Yeah.
What a blessing.
I know she's amazing. Her name's Mupe Glick, and she has trained in other healing modalities as well. And she's just incredibly intuitive and grounded and very down to earth and very funny. And you would never know any of this. She's incredibly humble. And she just has a real gift and really, it does and no one would know. She does all these, things for the community. So she's amazing. And that happened really organically too. I would just, started coming to her workshops or to her constellation night, and I got really into it. And then for a while she was just giving me sessions, and then we got to the point where we trade now. So I'll give her a session and then she'll give me a session. So we trade off now at this point. So it's really, really a gift, and yeah, feel very lucky there too. So.
Wow. Well, thank you. I am really, really, really interested in this.
Yeah, you should come sometime. It's great.
I absolutely will. So definitely. No, I mean, because I think that as far as like, when we go through our life and there's, things that we work through and healing and layers that we shed, old layers, etc. All of like, it's such a process, such a journey. And I think that there's, like you were saying, there's so many different modalities, and certain modalities might be definitely more appropriate for a specific issue or time in someone's life. And then, at a different time, and maybe it needs to be something else. And so I just find it really fascinating and wonderful that there are so many modalities, and that, obviously that we connect with them and people that are facilitating them at the right time, in the right way, at the right, when we're ready.
Yeah.
We're always being guided.
Right.
If we're listening, we're always being guided to what is right in this moment. So as we're talking about this, of course, I definitely want to come, and I'm so happy that I live close enough that I can.
Yay! Yeah,
I will definitely. And then for people who might not live close to this particular mentor, how would they go about? Would they just look for constellation?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know there's a couple. I know of a few other facilitators. I think you could kind of. It depends on where you are, but I know in LA there's a lot of types of facilitators. So you could probably Google, family constellation near me or constellations near me, and find some kind of resource in that area. I can also do some research and send you some links on people that I know would be good. And yeah, apparently there's certain places where it's much more in Germany. It's very popular. It comes from Germany, so a lot of people there they know it's a like household name kind of thing in certain areas. I think South Africa also, they do a lot of constellation. So it's newer here or less popular, but it is. It's only from the 80s, I think it was developed. Like it's a newer modality for sure, but of course it's just practices that have been done in different ways. So it's just packages it in an easy way. And like you were saying about the perfect timing, there's also kind of a rule in constellation that whoever shows up that night or for that session are the right people to be there. If someone comes in late, it's like perfect. They always represent whatever needs to come in the door at that moment. So there's also really a way that there's never concern about too many people or not enough people or whose constellation. It's just that also has a mind of its own. So.
That's so interesting. I'm very excited to have that experience. Yeah, I absolutely will come. And then thank you for sharing some of those resources. So when we post this in the YouTube channel, we can put those links on the bottom.
Sure. Yeah.
To them. So within this work that you're doing in this apprenticeship, is this also part of the plant work, or is that separately?
That's actually totally separate. That also found me very organically. It's this, another wonderful resource, plants, amazing. I found out about it through a friend of mine. She was going to take the class. It apparently has like a huge waiting list, and I just emailed at the last minute and there like happened to be a spot. So it worked out really beautifully. And yeah, it's an herbalist class. You're learning how to work with plants medicinally, and it's held really beautifully. It's the Gaia School of Healing, and so working with I like it as a supplement with all the metaphysical stuff through constellation, which is very like upper realms kind of, but the plant medicine is very grounding and very much concerned with the earth and really medicine of the plants, and also tending to the earth and being really stewards of the ground. So it keeps me connected down here also, which I really appreciate. And you work with amazing plants, and we do this really beautiful thing where we all sit in a circle and our teacher will pour us a different tea, and we won't know what it is. And we'll close our eyes, we'll, meditate with it and drink the tea, ask the spirit of the plant to come in. And then we'll all open our eyes and discuss it. And we all have the most similar experiences, not knowing anything about the plant. We'll all sometimes one time we all had a similar vision of dry, tall grass. And it turns out we were drinking oat straw, which is tall, thin grass. Like you have these really, so really for me, it's been amazing to see also the spirits of the non-human in a really healing way too, because, also it's very medicinal, you're drinking these teas that are so good for you. Yeah. Anyway, so that's great too for me. That really is what I'm getting from the class is each individual plant has its very distinct personality and gift to offer through, a communion and through even, drinking these very, magical, and we're drinking nourishing herbs, like we're drinking nettles and we're drinking roots, like they're very like safe, just herbs that are very abundant as well. And really getting to feel that rooting. And it's interesting, the personality of the plants as well through their medicine will also, so stinging nettle, for example, you drink it for its obviously amazing vitamins, nutrients, just incredible for your skin, your hair, but also for boundaries, for example, because if you think of a stinging nettle, what amazing boundaries it has. So there's a way that it can also have a spiritual teaching as well as just a medicine of the actual properties. Yeah.
Interesting. And so so if somebody is wanting to work on, let's say, boundaries or something like that, they could go to the plant.
Yeah.
And then is it just making tea and?
Yeah, I have here's a bag of, like, right next to me. This is how much nettles I have right now in my house. I bought a pound of it. And you would just put, a handful in a jar and steep it in cold water overnight and then drink it throughout the day. That's just one example. Nettles is a great one. We had to work with something every day, drink at least, a jar this big. So I was drinking nettles for about 3 months every morning. And I found that I had an easier time setting boundaries. Just it came more naturally. So there is this really a shift that can happen. Or I'm trying to think of another like tangible example of a plant that has an offering, and it's also an individual offering for certain plants. Certain plants that work on your lungs, for example, are good for releasing grief, because we hold a lot of grief in our lungs. So there's a very tangible connection between where it works in your body and what kind of offerings it gives to you as a human being. And there's also really just a deep grounding that all the herbs give you, really, because they're from the earth, right? So you get this really embodied sense of being in your body and being rooted to a place and being nourished. It's all about the system. The school that we're learning at takes a lot of teachings from a woman named Susan Weed, and she's all about, it's called the Wise Woman Tradition of Healing. And it's all about, nourishment and finding nourishment in whatever way that looks like for you. And no guilt, no like, oh, I'm not eating right, I'm not doing everything right. No kind of looking for who's going to be, my ultimate healer. It's all about healing yourself and finding allies that are going to help you in that process. So it's really an empowering thing. And, it's really a conversation with the plants. It's not, oh, you're too good for me, tree. Like, I just need, teach me. It's more like just having reverence and then receiving and also giving, yourself as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay. I feel like I have so many things that I can go like,
I know, it's so fun.
dive into now. And these are all new. These are new things. So I really just so appreciate all the wisdom. Gosh, you're so full of wisdom and knowledge. This is such a treat. We're definitely going to have part 2 at some point of this conversation. But as we, I think probably as we're coming to our close, I wanted to just ask a couple more questions about the plant.
Of course.
So you mentioned, and I'll put the links on the bottom down for our viewers if they, for everything that we mentioned, we'll get the links out there. So the woman's name was Susan Weeds.
Mm-hmm. Susan Weed. We read her book, The Wise Woman Tradition of Healing. Was one of the first texts we read. So that was, a really just helpful. And she explains the different types of healing, mainly being the like Western medicine, which you can bring the Wise Woman Tradition of Healing through that. But oftentimes that tells you, it has a very logical explanation for things, right? And it treats it in a very purely physical sense. And then you have the book is great. I would just say read the book. I can't explain the whole thing, but the Wise Woman Tradition of Healing is really powerful.
That's on top of my list now.
Great.
I gotta read that.
Yes.
And so before we wrap up, do you have, can you, like, I'm just really interested in the plant medicine. So for example, is there like a resource that kind of like maybe a website or something, or a book that says, okay, if you're wanting support with boundaries, this is the
I have to think about that. I'm actually not sure. I would say that, in Susan Weed's book, she talks about a lot of nourishing herbs. So that's how we always start out. So they're the safest category of herbs. You would take them every day in pretty big doses, and they just really flood your whole body with nutrients, and they're so safe. So I would say start out with a nourishing herb, which would be nettles, burdock, red clover, oat straw, dandelion root. I think those are the few that we were working with. So there's that. There's also a lot of resources on yeah, on different herbs for different things. I feel yet that I don't have, I mean, I'm halfway through the course, so I feel like I'm just getting started on what I actually know.
Yeah.
But I would say there's probably a lot of, and I'll do some research and send you some links as well for that.
That'd be great. And then so like for the nettles, where did you order it from? Like, do you just order?
Yeah, in our class, we she sells them to us at like wholesale price basically, but they there's a lot of places sell herbs in bulk, actually, surprisingly, like health food stores. But I would say Mountain Rose Herbs is a pretty great place to buy in bulk if you're looking to buy herbs. So I would say that's where I get any of the ones I need refilled. So yeah.
Oh, oh my gosh, I feel so nourished from this conversation. I feel like you've just like, I really feel like like I've been swimming in this like wonderful, enriching space of possibilities and healing and nourishment and inspiration with you. So I just really, I'm
You.
so grateful.
Oh, thank
Like
you.
this amazing being. I like, it's just been such a delight, and I would love for us to maybe come back and have another conversation later.
Yeah, of course. I'll probably have changed my mind about a lot of things by then, but at least for now.
But but you're like, it's like, it's just so powerful because um all of this becomes integrated, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, as we go through our journey, we get attracted to certain things at certain
Yeah.
times, learn, and then that becomes part of the
Yeah.
this becomes, so then, like, as we grow and move forward in the journey, we then are really have a very rich
Yeah.
repertoire, uh,
Yeah.
modalities, tools, ideas, knowledge, that will come in handy at a specific time for a specific
Yep.
person in their life.
Completely. I completely agree.
Yeah,
Exactly. It'll all come together.
yeah. Oh
Well,
my
thank
God.
you so much. This was really an honor too, and a fun conversation. It was really,
Fun.
thank you for being so open. So that was also,
Of course, yeah. And I will definitely connect with you more about coming out to the canyon and at a concert
yeah, please do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
coffee time. Um,
Yes.
thank you so much for this. I
Thank
will be posting it on the YouTube channel, and we'll get all those links out for anybody that wants to keep diving
Great.
deeper. I know that I will be checking those out. So thank you, Amalia. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Take care. Thank you so much. Bye.